So we're CivicJunction, and our app is called Cityzen. So before we start, I'd like to introduce two people. First is James. He's a college freshman, cashier at Target. He's politically active in school, but does not know what to do outside of school. He does not feel like he wants to vote this year because he does not believe changes come from the electoral system. On the other hand, we have Terry, who is not politically active, but has voted for the presidency. And similarly, Terry feels like she doesn't want to vote because his vote has not changed anything in his life. So both Terry and James' frustrations with the electoral federation, their experience with federal elections has left them disillusioned and disengaged from politics. Like many young people, their disengagement is most visible at the local level. So across the board, engagement at the local level is quite low. For most major cities, it's about 15 to 27%. And of that small population, only less than 14% are made up of youth. Michigan has one of the largest gap between youth and older votes with about 26%. If we break that down by class and race, it gets much worse. For white voters are 20 times more likely to vote. So this makes the average voter in local elections tend to be older and whiter and more affluent. So the question is like, why are young people not voting? We want to emphasize that it's not apathy, but rather a list of reasons. For example, educational and institutional barriers, media stereotype, and a history of disenfranchisement. So we set out to understand how we can help young people through literature review, interviews, and comparative analysis. We learned that changes happen at the local level. Many young people are aware and politically active, but they don't know how to navigate the local systems. There are informations out there, but it's not always accessible or transparent to young people. So that led us to create Cityzen, a tool to help young people map power and create change in their community. We want to reorient young people from larger scales to local levels issues and educate them on local issues and connections. We want to turn their political awareness into actions and behaviors, and we hope to connect them to resources that will allow them to engage meaningfully.
So to achieve the three purposes about, we designed 5 key features for our app. And next slide, please. So this is where users start on our app. The avatar represents the user. They get landed on the virtual map of their current cities. And on prototype here, it is a map of Annaborg. The user can jack a map and explore these places. We believe the virtual map and animation style makes the whole map app more gamified to make politics more approachable to young people. And the first key feature we have is user home, where users can see everything related to their own activities and achievements. What's important about this feature is that users can start their own campaigns here by completing an easy form you can see on the second screenshot. We hope this can ease process and provoke a stronger use initiative. And we also create a badge system. On the upper right are some badges we designed to reward young people who actively participate in environment protecting campaigns and also involved in charity. So through interviews, we found young people feel a lack of motivation because they cannot see their impacts. So I think a badge system can be a good way to motivate young people. So the second feature is town hall. It's a space for young people to express their opinions on local political events and also campaigns. So from user interviews, we found that young people are willing to hear more different voices from people with different political standing. So this feature enables young people to discuss with their peers and also strengthen local community connections. And here is the news station. The news is categorized into different levels, and platform incorporates various news resources. So users can feed themselves with the latest news and shape their own educated opinions. So the first feature is Power Guide. It's a place for young people to know more about how an agency works, its structure, power, and history. It can be a health organization or like environmental organization, you name it. So the user can see campaigns initiated by agency. And if the user is interested, the user can also leave a message to the agency officials to start a deeper conversation. And besides Power Guide, we also designed a feature to have young people better connect with city government. So we can see posts by officials in the office, which is a channel to build connections with officials and young people. Through the interviews, we found that officials are also looking for ways to reach young people at where they are. So we think this is a feature that benefits both sides. So users can read news related to government and councils and also see upcoming elections. It's on the second screenshot, including the candidate's information, the election date, and how to register. And now move forward to our sustainment plan.
So in order to sustain our app, we plan on adopting a few commercial ideas that we believe will sustain our app throughout its tenure. The first one consists of users buying tokens and sending it to other users when they believe their post stands out or profound or meaningful in some type of way. The second idea consists of a more traditional advertisement scheme in which businesses, individuals, officials, etc., buy ad spaces to showcase their products or ideas to users. And lastly, we plan on working with local organizations and nonprofits and city governments to advocate for changes in voting laws. For example, we can advocate moving local races to election years to increase turnout for all races on the ballot.
Yep. So in terms of our timelines, we're thinking of like a year to fine tune the product and then launching it. And from that, we'll evaluate to determine new cities to partner. So through Cityzen, we hope to impact young people everywhere. We want to reorient young people towards the local level because that's where they can make the greatest change, where they can see the greatest impact. With Cityzen, we hope that young people can create a community. There will be stronger youth initiatives, and young people will be able to have a greater understanding of power and government agencies. And there will be more opportunities for political as well as professional careers. With that, I'd like to conclude our team and then our resources. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Just in time. Perfect timing. Okay, panel. Who would like to start? Elizabeth.
I can start. Thank you so much for your presentation. I remember participating in mock voting when I was in high school before I could vote. So that was a really meaningful experience for me. One question that I do have is around your users and more so ideologies. So, politics is such a polarizing topic that even the word power is a polarizing word. So I'm curious if you envision really targeting your topic around a certain political group, or if you're trying to make this a space where anyone across political ideology can engage. And if so, how will you think about making it a space that's accessible? Because if I say power to a person on the right, they're going to hear that differently than a person on the left. So really curious how you're thinking about the range of political ideology being engaged in your app.
Yeah, the goal is to be open for anyone, right? The more people involved in democracy, the better. There's this assumption that most people live in a thought bubble, but I think everyday life, young people are engaged in more politics than we know. They're engaged in more disagreements, and young people know how to navigate these conversations more than we give them credit. On our side, I think there's, of course, like to create a space where everyone can engage. That would means like a lot of measures of like, how do you navigate hate speeches? How do you navigate toxic behaviors? And a lot of that would be determined through user testing, what it's like, what is fields standards. But like I don't think there's like one correct way to create that space.
I can add a little bit more to this question. So based on our interviews, we do find that half of the young people are trying to stay neutral. So like hate the political polarization that is happening in the current society. So that's why they want to hear more different voices. And when they trying to read news, they also trying to find different sources. For example, some people they turn to different newspapers to hear different voices. So that's the awareness of young people that might change in the future. And the second point, I think why people nowadays always hear the same voices from their political side is partially because of the algorithm that on app. For example, like TikTok or like Facebook, once you like more of the similar posts, the app will like push you more like the most with like similar like political standing to you. So we are also considering to like change this in our app. So we want to get rid of this toxic algorithm at the same time. I think that's the point we can like make a difference on our app to let young people to hear more about different voices.
Great job, really nice presentation. I have some just questions or clarifying questions around like the problem solution fit. So apologize if I misheard, but what I heard is as one of the problems at least, or maybe the main problem, is that in your profiles that you did of James and Terry, is that they don't believe that things will change based on their vote, right? But then the solution seems to be focused more around making it easier for them to vote and education around issues. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. And so I'm wondering, so there seems to be a little disconnect there, and I'm wondering if it might be more helpful to frame the problem as like that voters aren't educated enough or don't feel empowered or don't know how to, vote and what to vote on, versus like, to some extent, we don't have that control right now of like making sure that change will occur. So I'm just wondering.
So yeah, that's a good point. I think we are trying to target at two different users. The first one is users who do not know how to register, how to vote on local level. And second type is people who do not believe so much about the government power or the officials in the government. So about how we want to tackle the second users, we build a feature named the city government. We are trying to have officials directly involved or get conversation with young people. And because one reason young people do not believe in government power is because they feel politicians are not authentic. So they're not doing what they have said, they have promised during the campaigns. But through the interviews, we can find that the officials, like some officials, are trying their best to make changes to their society, to their current community. But the fact is that young people do not know their effort. So the officials have no way or do not have platform to show young people their progress or their current initiatives or the actions they are taking to make the changes. So we think this feature is a good way to let young people to see how these politicians are making a change to their current community. Yeah. Thank you.
I would just like to add that our tool is not just limited to civic engagement. It's much more about political engagement in general. I think the point of inspiring change, and the issue is about one of the issues is that young people don't believe change comes from system. But I think the uniqueness about our app is like orienting them towards local levels, and that's where they can see the greatest change. Change does not have to, be like voting, but rather like organizing with your community. Power mapping is one of the critical tools in community organizing. And I think that's one of the ways that we can inspire change within young people. It's connecting them with their community, giving them the tools to create change in the way that they see fit. And that's beyond just voting,
Great job. And I love the topic area. I think one of the questions that I have is what have you looked at in terms of how are young people getting this information if they are being informed? And what are maybe either some of the substitutes or other platforms that you see are being used or that could be used to complement the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I think most young people are getting their information from social media. And as with all social medias, it tends to be just like awareness, and it doesn't turn into any actions. Young people often fail to connect what's going on online to local issues. They fail to connect how, you know, civic engagement relates to community engagement. I think what we're trying to do is try to take it beyond just like learning about, you know, hey, something's happening. How do you make changes, and how do you create changes in your own community? What can you do? Yeah.
Do we have time for more questions?
One more quick one.
Okay, I would love to hear a little bit more about who you interviewed. So how many people, demographics, et cetera.
Sorry, we interviewed 35 people. Most of our interview are people from 18 to 24. And we try to get as many expert and professional as we can. But yeah, because our app is focused on young people who are 18 to 24, we believe, you know, working, helping young people will create greater change for everybody.